Welcome everybody to the Lazy Money Machine podcast. We're back finally after I don't know how long, more than a year. David Leon is on the podcast and I am beyond ecstatic because we're starting the Lazy Money Machine again. We're starting it with the lazy property investor guy all the way over in New Zealand. And it's such a great day. I met David a while back during my property training, and I started noticing online that he was changing his Instagram profile into, what was it, David? Lazy Investor Club.
Lazy Investor Club, that's the one.
And I thought, is this guy stealing my brand? And then it turned out it was completely unrelated. And I reached out to David and I said, David, this must be a sign from the universe. I think this lazy thing we share. And I contacted David and he said, I'm so excited to go and do a podcast. I always wanted to do it. So the both of us agreed to go and restart the Lazy Money Machine podcast. So here we are. Welcome, David, to your first Lazy Money Machine podcast.
Dude, your energy on this podcast, it's just gone off the roof already. This is going to be a shitload of fun. So the main reason I want to do this podcast is because I click with you. You're a good dude. So that's the main thing. And I love talking. And at the moment, I'm just not doing enough talking because that for me is a way, it's a cathartic way of getting my energy out there, getting all my thoughts and being able to help people. And with all this COVID bullshit, basically I'm stuck. Not being able to do what I do best, which is just talk to thousands of people and tell them what I do and how I do it and why I'm so lazy and successful, I guess, in those measurements that you want to talk about, financial or health-wise and everything else. And this gives me that chance, that opportunity to be able to be, in your face, say it as it is, as per usual, no filters, with someone that I actually enjoy hanging out with. So it's bloody fabulous. So thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no, super. And I'm really excited because I always work better with a partner. So if I have somebody to do a project with, it's usually much more fun and much more engaging. So great for you to be.
It's always much better to do something with someone else than to do it by yourself in any angle. Obviously, that was my first sexual joke of the day. So just go for the next thing.
For one thing, the podcast will have explicit tags marked all the way down. So if you guys are not happy with some explicit content, go tune out, go find another podcast, because I don't think that the explicit tag will be off anymore going forward. So
No, I think we'll struggle not to include a few every few minutes, but that's what's going to keep you excited and it's going to keep you listening. I actually say that for me is essential. If I'm not entertained, if I'm not having fun, I'm not going to be paying attention. And I think that's what everyone wants in this kind of podcast. You want to learn something, but you want to be entertained, because if you get bored from two old pricks talking nonsense, well, that's not gonna cut it. So we're going to give you a lot of content. I want to give you everything that I have and then some more, and have some fun. And sometimes we're going to say things that we probably shouldn't say, but that all comes with the with the fun of doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Great. So let's press rewind, and rewind in the sense that we met a long time ago during me following a property training. I've spoken about that before I started investing. I've invested in myself. I've invested in training. It wasn't cheap, but it was definitely worth it. And on that circuit, I started also joining and speaking and helping others do the same. That's why we met. But clearly, you are not from New Zealand. Your accent is not a New Zealand accent, not a Kiwi accent. So first of all, where in the world are you? And how come you don't seem to be New Zealander? Is it New Zealander? Kiwi? What is it?
Yeah. New Zealander or a Kiwi. I'm born and raised in Spain. But live in New Zealand now. I've been here since 2005, so I call myself now a Spiwi, Spanish Kiwi. That's where the Spiwi thing comes in, and that is one of the for me, New Zealand has been a great adventure. it is such a fantastic market because it's so easy, so straightforward. I'm really lazy. Kiwis are almost as lazy as Spaniards are. But I absolutely love every second of living here. The lifestyle, the quality, the opportunities still. It's almost like going back in time 20 years and having the opportunities that we used to have in England and other countries, right? Of getting cash flow, being able to do business in a very simple way and manner. And that's what New Zealand gave me. Besides that, my wife is a Kiwi, so it kind of makes the decision fairly straightforward.
But
And
how
that
did
is
you
a
end up
big thing.
there? I mean, how did you end up in New Zealand?
Well, it was 2000 and it's a great story, actually. That's a bloody good story. I haven't told that story in a long time. So it was 2004 that I went to Spain and I was doing some events over there. So I helped to open, it wasn't mine, it was with Russ Whitney at that stage, the famous author that wrote Building Wealth. American guy, really cool dude, actually, very interesting. So I was doing some speaking with his company in Barcelona, in Spain. Literally, that's my delivery for food. That's how lazy I am. We don't do supermarkets; like everything comes. So that you're hearing and seeing now is literally a food just being driven into my house. So going back to the story, I was in Spain. We were there. They had massive issues because they had a huge hurricane that essentially dilapidated the office in Cape Coral in Florida. And we had just gone to New Zealand in December and bought two houses there, literally in 7 days. The market was really cool. We absolutely loved it. This thing happened in March, and in April 2005, we said, you know what, we want to start a family. We're serious about the relationship. We know that this is going to work. We know that that's a place to go. So let's get out of Spain and move to New Zealand. And that is what we did. We moved there 2005 because a bit of luck, coincidence, market conditions, and opportunity, which they all came together at the perfect time, and we made it work, and we never looked back. I mean, I wouldn't go anywhere else, and I love traveling the world, as you know, and that's one of the things that I love about you, just how passionate you are about doing those things and meeting different people and cultures. But the lifestyle that we have here in New Zealand, especially for the kids, it's seriously ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
So, what do you miss about Spain?
The football, really.
The football.
That's about it. That's about it. I'm crazy about sports. Spain is crazy about sports, about living life, about having fun, um, and that I do miss. But I do get my dosages usually every year for a few weeks. I can only be in Spain for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then I get out of there because there's too many Spaniards and they drive me fucking nuts. As much as I'm as much as I'm very Spanish, probably that's what it is. You know, they remind me too much of me. I can only take that much of myself before I have to get out and
And
do something else.
is it the Spaniards, or is it maybe the way that they look at life, and maybe you have gotten such a different perspective on life now by moving to the other side of the world, by marrying a local New Zealand lady, by completely turning your life upside down? Is it that you're going back to people that are in like sort of the standard pattern that is bothering you a lot?
Uh, it could be, but when you were answering the question, I went somewhere else in my head, and I started thinking, shit, maybe I'm becoming more Spanish lately. So essentially, when I was in Spain, I always didn't feel that I fit in the culture, the way they did things, the living in the moment, right? Which I absolutely love, especially now. I knew that I wanted to be in a place where I could definitely then live in the moment in a better way. So the Anglo-Saxon way of working and thinking and doing things and operating seemed to be more down my path. But the older that I get, I guess the wealthier that I got, the more relaxed that I've become with everything. And now for me, it's all about living that moment. It's all about that having fun, that being able to really pinpoint what's going to make me happy and take it to that next level. And that's what I do with basically every aspect of my life, from my investments to this kind of stuff. I need to have fun. I need to be living in that moment and doing it with passion. But at the same time, I also like my quality quiet time. I like my siestas. I still most days will go for a little nap. And I feel that I'm becoming, as I get older, especially now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going back more to my roots of that kind of Spanish lifestyle, where the living in society, being able to work with people, doing very little, but doing it with passion is what matters to me.
So what makes you happy? You mentioned that this is something important, right? You're doing what makes you happy. So what makes you happy?
Well, I have a list of things. And I think it's important for everyone to have that list and to read it every once in a while and to change it. And for me, it's the simplicity of life is not being pushed to do something, not having to have a to-do list, not having to wear a watch. Like I'll wear it, like actually I put it on today for the special occasion. I'm wearing one. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have one of my watches. So I have a watch collection as well, and I don't even fucking wear them. That's how smart I am. It's not being constrained, essentially, but what makes me happy is the simple things. It's being able to take my daughter to school every day, to be able to go with walks and go for a kayak or a surf or something before we go to school in the mornings. Spending time with the animals. We live semi-rural now, so we have everything from sheep, ducks, chicken, everything. It's really cool. Spending time with my friends and going, now that I cannot really play sports because I'm getting a bit older and I'm too competitive. So that means that whatever I play, I need to play 100%. And if I do that, I tend to break shit, like my body. Then I get to watch it. And that I'm very passionate about. So I've gone to every World Cup now for the last three. I was supposed to go to the Euro before COVID lockdowns happen. So I love every kind of sporting event, especially tennis, basketball, football. I want to go and watch those things live. Travel is not in my, as much as I've enjoyed it, it came out of my list. You see, that's why it's so important to have that list and see it and review it every once in a while. I was very happy to just stay still and just be happy doing what I do, fly fishing, enjoying good quality time, doing the little things that I'm doing. For example, I'm putting together now a little new vermouth. So my neighbor has a winery and we're putting together a rosé vermouth. So I'm just creating these things. It's just lots of really cool avenues for creativity, which I love. Writing a book, which is the other big thing that I'm doing at the moment. Just finishing up a book about being lazy, about having a lazy lifestyle. That's the kind of stuff that really gets me going. Listening to music, going for walks, going for runs. It's all that in the list that I have. And whenever I feel like shit, because we all do, we all go into those things. This life is not perfect. It's not supposed to be. Then it wouldn't be perfect anyways by definition, right? So if I feel like that, I just basically pick up something on the list and I just change it. And that's what keeps me moving. That's what keeps me with the same spirit that I've had for the last, since I remember, the last 20 years, especially since I did all the training with Tony Robbins and everything else, which for me was a big pivotal point to transform my life into something different.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? So what exactly was it that made you change your life? And what was it in the Tony Robbins teachings that
Yeah,
unlocked the beast in you?
it could have been. It was a combination of everything.
Okay.
But that guy is a beast himself, right? What a monstrosity of a man. I'm a big boy and I look like a tiny little kid next to him. But I went to a few courses. The whole property thing attracted to me. It was logical, right? It made sense. It's so much easier than anything else. Opening a business is a hell of a lot harder than it is to just doing property the way that we do it. So that was a no-brainer. I did all the courses, but what I noticed on those courses is that one of the main reasons that I participated and signed up for them is because I loved the speakers and what they did. But all the speakers had done the property stuff, but they've also done the personal development stuff. they've all been to Tony Robbins. They've all done all the courses. They kept growing, and they had this amazing energy and way of living life. And we decided to jump in and went to UPW in 2002 in London. It was 2002 or 2003. There was about 10,000 people there, and that was one of those experiences that changes your life. I remember going full vegetarian after it, really playing hard out, just that mindset change, and that was probably the hardest working years of my life. The 2 years coming after that, because I knew, and I was dangerous then, because I had the skill set to be able to put no money down deals together, to find deals, to get investors, to do all those things. But I also had the motivation that I was unstoppable. Uh, at the same time, now I realized that you cannot carry that motivation without consequences for a long time. And it was good that the motivation kind of dwindled down a little bit, because I struggled to think how I could have coped at that level of speed forever. And there are people that do it, and I see them like you see them on a regular basis, and they are driven by something else. I think it ends up becoming a very dark cycle of just achievement for the sake of achievement, rather than living, which I believe is what we're here to do. We're not here to be the highest achiever in the world. We're here to live a happy life and do the best that we can with the time that we have.
Interesting that you say that, because the hustle lifestyle is really popular, right? It's being promoted by Vaynerchuk, by Cardone, by a
Yeah,
lot of these people, right? And nothing against them,
yeah.
right? They have a way of looking at life, and they have a way of living their life. But both you and I are very different. Even though we don't mind working hard, I think the thing we have in common is we try to find ways to work hard by which our energy is very effective in terms of the results we achieve, without us having to push it every hour of the day, every minute of the day, every day of the week, right? So we're trying to find ways whereby, I always explain it to people as, I'm always trying to find like the huge big rocks that I can throw down the mountain. Instead of digging into a big pile of small little rocks that I keep shoving down the mountain every day, right? So I'm trying to find what is a big rock that I can build or that I can create, that I can throw down the mountain, and it might take years for it to hit results in the end. But I'm trying to look for these big rocks, and I think you're similar to that, right? You don't work 10, 20 hours a day. You do the effective stuff to get the results you want, I think, right?
Spot on. I think a lot, and I think that's why we're similar.
Yeah.
We like to think before we do. A lot of people just do for the sake of doing, because they think that there is at the moment, there is this thing where people seem to be attracted to hard work. When you talk to someone and you ask them, what are you doing? Or how are you going? I'm like, I'm so busy. And everyone's like, whoa, that's awesome. No, it's not awesome. It's fucking stupid. When people tell me uh, I'm busy, I'm like, well, what are you doing wrong? How are you going to fix that? For me, that's a problem. Being busy, it's nothing to be proud of. It's actually something you should be ashamed of. It's something that you're doing wrong. Being busy is not what we're designed as human beings to do.
Mhm.
And it frustrates the shit out of me that we created this culture of just wanting to be busy, of thinking that the people that are busy are the ones that are living the best lives. They're fucking not. I know them. They're miserable bastards, most of them. They really are. A few of them, there is that tiny minority, like you said, and I've spoken with Cardone, for example, and he's such a cool dude. He really is a cool dude. I remember getting off stage. I hadn't even met him, and he came in, shook my hand, said, "You done fucking great. What are you doing? Should we catch up?" Like, he started telling me everything. He grabbed his wife, literally shouted at Helena, and just said, "Just come in here. You have to meet this dude." Like, seriously, one of the nicest guys ever. And the hustle that he has, the energy that he has, it's out of this world, right? And you see people like that, and you're like, yeah, it works for you, but you are such a tiny minority that it's not even worth talking about it. So I cannot be in front of a stage and say, hey, you all have to be like Cardone. It's impossible. It will not happen. That's a 1 in 100,000 kind of situation. It's not 1 in 10. It's not 1 in 100, because humans are usually not designed to withstand that level of pain that these guys can do to have the lifestyle that they have. And I'm not saying there is anything wrong with it. I wouldn't be able to do it. It would drive me absolutely nuts. I think I would be such a miserable human being. I wouldn't want to. Well, no one would want to be around me. That's the reality of it.
Yeah. So why are you so passionate about promoting lifestyle over hustle, if I may call it that way, right? Why are you so passionate about teaching people ways in which you don't have to work 80 hours a week and spend your time on other things? Why is that such a big thing for you?
I it's. I don't think it's a big thing for me. I think it's the right thing for me to do. So it's not big or small. I feel that I've seen so many people being sold the wrong idea because it's a sellable thing, not because it makes sense. That it just pisses me off. For me to see speakers from the front of the room saying just have to hustle hard, keep working, it's gonna be all right. You have to fail a million times, but you'll be okay. You'll get the million and one. It's fucking bullshit. It kills me, breaks my heart every time that I see that, because it just setting up people for failure. Most people, the reality is that they shouldn't do a business. They should have a job and enjoy their lives. That because they don't have it. They don't have the skill set, the time, uh, the commitment that's necessary to do it. So that's the first thing. The 80, well, probably not 80, maybe a little bit less, 60 to 70%, I shouldn't even attempt to do that. They're happy doing what they're doing. Just invest on the side, get really smart, safe investments. Then you're going to get your financial goals. You're going to get everything in track, and you're going to have a really cool life. Nothing wrong with that. It's the problem with that greed that's being sold, with that unless you achieve this your life is meaningless. Bullshit. Your life could be completely meaningful achieving a lot less than that. Achievement doesn't have any kind of correlation to happiness or success. Overall achievement is just you achieve the goal, well done, you have more money, you have a bigger house, you have a bigger jet. Well, doopy-doopy-doo, who cares? At the end of the day, it's not what makes people happy, and not everyone can get there. If everyone could get there, it wouldn't be cool anyways, right? If everyone could have their own airplane, well, it wouldn't be cool. It would just be life. It's not supposed to be like that. And for me, it's really frustrating to be in a room of 4,000 people and have the typical American bullshit coming out, of the speakers saying, this is the way that you have to do it. If you want to be like me, that's the way you have to do it. Well, the first thing is that they're not going to be like you uh, because of a multitude of reasons. And doing that, it's only going to hurt them. It's not going to help them. So I got over it. And I started changing, and I'm still evolving in the way that I teach. I still know that you need to do some kind of work and something different in order to achieve different goals. I understand that, and I still fully endorse that. But the concept of hustle and working stupid hours to just get a little bit more and that sense of achievement, for me, it's a recipe for disaster. Because as soon as you achieve something, as you know, what do you do then? If you're just driven by achievement, you set yourself a new goal for achievement, and it creates that constant, perpetual rat race, which is worse than the other rat race that we wanted to get out of, which is the rat race of work and basically not getting ahead. And that's one of the cool things that we will be talking about this podcast, is getting out of that rat race without getting into the other one. Because you can just create a bigger rat cage, essentially. And I don't want people to do that. I want them to have enough time to figure out who they are and how they can actually have more fun living.
Yeah. One of the things that came to me when you were telling this, the other thing about the way that we live our lives, and we're going to come to your business after this and talk what you're actually doing to make your money. But the other cool thing about what we do is we have the choice to press the gas pedal or not. So there are times also in my life whereby, I mean, I have weeks where I work a lot, right, on all the projects that I love working on. But there are times where we press the gas pedal all the way down to basically find another big rock to throw down the mountain. And then there's times where we sit back, drink a beer, and see the rock roll down, right? So I think that's the beauty about what we do. And it doesn't mean that we never work hard. There are times, at least in my life, where I work a lot of hours because I want to do something, or I want to find my new big rock. But there are definitely times where we can take the foot off the pedal and enjoy it, right? So
yeah, I think that is the way that I like to live my life.
yes.
But for me, it's sometimes I actually put the thing on the pedal, or the foot on the pedal, and now it's very, very rare. To be honest, the only time that it feels like I'm working hard, and it doesn't really feel that bad, is when I'm doing presentations like 3 days in a row. Because we have an event that is 3 days long, so that means that I'm on stage 6-7 hours a day, and then there is preparation, there's the before and after and everything else. So you'll probably be doing 8 to 10 hour days, which for normal people it's kind of a normal thing, but for me it's crazy. So that's the only time that I feel like I am doing work. But at the same time, because I am talking about what I'm passionate about, I know that I'm helping people and I'm making a massive difference. And I know that that is kind of the best course that's available in when it comes to education. I know that this is all on my own terms, and I'm having a freaking cracking time. I have people that I want to work with, the best people, the best course speakers, everyone that I absolutely love. We end up finishing the day, always go out for dinners, have a few drinks, have a few hours of sleep, and then do it again and do it through this. But that's my only hard work these days. I cannot do anything else because the way that I make money doesn't let me work hard anymore. It's finished. Even if I tried, I would struggle.
So let's talk about that. You came to New Zealand, and you were mentioning already that you got into property investing straight away, right? You bought your assets there. So in the years that you were there, how have you built your business or your income? What do you do? The stupid question is, what do you do for a living? But that's not really what it is, right? What do you do to live, basically?
Yeah. Yeah, well, nothing anymore. I guess that I live in about 20% of what I make, roughly. So that's the first thing, really, when it comes to wealth creation and financial independence, to live on a lot less of what you make. Um, what I do at this stage is just looking at my investments and making sure that they're performing well. I'm moving money around. I literally get paid to make decisions of moving money from A to B. So I evaluate opportunities, markets, properties, deals, and then I move money around. Usually not even my money anymore. The more
And
money you have, the
these are
less
all
that you
property
use.
deals or not, David?
No. I do a lot of business stuff as well. So
Okay.
I do both business and property. In New Zealand, we have no capital gains tax. So it's a pretty cool thing to be able to do business and then sell businesses. And I've actually created a couple of multi-million-dollar businesses that one of them, for example, I sold at 6 mil to a publicly traded company in Australia. And that was just a setup doing property related businesses, and that's what my skill set is, right? It's always been property, so I tend not to deviate too much from crazy businesses that I have no idea about. For example, I'm not going to set up an app doing some kind of crazy new thing. I struggle opening my phone, for Christ's sake, so I'm not going to be able to do that stuff, right? For me, doing a podcast is too technically advanced for me. I'm not the most technically driven people. I like to shake a hand. I like to give a cuddle. I like to look at someone in the eye and say, hey, you can trust me. I can trust you. That's it. We'll do whatever it takes. But for me, it's now moving money around, making that money work hard for me so that I don't have to. And usually just invest in other people's money. Because the better that you become at this game, the more that people talk to you and they say, hey, can you help me? And we do a lot of that. So this year we will be opening quite a few different funds and different opportunities. I literally just finished a phone call with a couple of great guys, some cool shit in Australia, like really, really cool stuff. I own a property development company, part of a property development company in Australia as well. So we do some really good stuff in New South Wales, but this would be in Victoria. It's fun. It's actually just now fun to look at the money going from one place to another and choose what's going to do better for me. And that's basically it. Besides that, it's just little businesses. Well, little, not huge, because I've also realized that I'm not good at big business. So once that the business reaches usually for me, and I don't know why, I still don't understand why, but every time that they reach about 4 to 5 mil worth of revenue, and they start becoming more corporate, um, the business suffers, I suffer, it doesn't work well. So now every time that I get to that level of revenue, I tend to sell it or to get out, because it doesn't seem to work out for me. The more structure there is, the less input that I tend to put into the business, because I'm all about anarchy and being able to think in the moment and make decisions right away. And a larger
And
company and business.
businesses when they grow, sorry to interrupt you, but businesses when they
No,
grow,
go for it.
it's very known that they need a different kind of leadership, right? So if you are the rainmaker, the magician, the creative guy, the guy that ties everything
Yeah,
together in the beginning, that might not be the best kind of leadership a company needs when they grow and mature. And I think that's where you
you're 100%
recognize
right.
your strength is in the magic phase, but not so much in the corporate, more business as usual operational phase, maybe.
No, it's a shit face for me. Like seriously, there's no
Hey,
other way of putting it. It's
yeah,
so boring. And I
yeah,
go there and I just everyone wants to have fun still because they've gone through the fun phase with me. And
yes,
and everything's changing. And that's usually we've appointed already some kind of general manager. And honestly, the more that I go, the worse that the business performs. So
yeah,
I know and I start like basically disappearing and becoming obsolete, which I guess is the purpose of business anyways. It's not for you to have a job, it's for you not to have one, right?
yes,
So
yes.
that's what I love to do, and I'm very passionate about business. I've had some really good coaches and friends. One of my best mates is Brad Sugars, for example, from Action International. And when it comes to talking about business and growing businesses, this guy is seriously a beast. He's absolutely amazing at figuring out and seeing avenues of creating more profits, saving at the same time that are just second to none. And I'm very passionate about it because it does give you more creativity than property does. Property, it's pretty boring. It really is. It's A plus B, and then you get the result, or 1 plus 2, you get 3. That's what I was going to do. I don't know how to add consonants or vowels and stuff like that. So I'm just going to do it properly and do 1 plus 2. So that's it. It's that simple. You join the two things, it makes sense. Shit goes wrong, like with everything, but it's pretty fixable. It's pretty straightforward. On a business, though, it's like seriously, it's like trying to add an apple to a banana and see what happens. You never know what's going to happen. It's just absolute mayhem, and that's what I love about it, because I love that kind of mess that you are supposed to fix and then come up with a solution. I love to have a problem that is, well, that's what people call a problem, and you just know that there is an opportunity disguised in that problem, and you can just tweak it and then just come up with a completely different beautiful solution that's going to take care of your business for the next 3 years, and separate it and become a niche product. It's businesses are fantastic and super cool.
So, do you still have because in the previous iteration of this podcast, we spoke a lot about passive income from property, right? And I know that you've been teaching that as well. Is that
Yeah.
still something that you do? Do you still have a portfolio that's generating rental income for you, or do you only do deal brokering and larger projects at the moment?
It's mainly larger projects now. The reality is that I think it's a phase. I have enough money coming from different businesses and other avenues not to worry too much about the cash flow stuff. So the way that I worked it is that I bought the crappy, what I call the crappy little houses, and those ones got me that revenue to be financially free. And then you basically sell those ones, get better stock. Better stock, I mean more expensive properties with more potential for growth, because your revenue is not needed anymore.
Mm.
So that cash flow is not essential. You already have your cash flow needs met. So then you change your portfolio, your assets, so that they become more of a wealth creation asset rather than a cash flow asset. So instead of nominal, you go into more of a capital play. And the reality is that that's what makes you big money. Cash flow keeps you safe. Capital makes you wealthy.
Yeah.
And I have to be very careful when I tell that to people, because everyone wants a silver bullet. And I don't think everyone should be given the silver bullet. You need to pay for that silver bullet. And that's what the way that I always explain it. You want the silver bullet, that's good. Show me that you're worthy of that silver bullet. Get your life together, have enough money coming in so that you don't have to worry. Then I'll sell you that silver bullet.
Yeah, and this is what makes it so fantastic that you are now partnering with me, because I'm definitely not there on those kind of projects. We'll talk a little bit more again about me in the next episode. But what I love about you is,
Looking forward to that too.
I'm still proving that I can build a passive income stream. It's coming in now from my UK properties, my portfolio there. But I also realize that it's bloody hard work to build a passive income stream from rental. But as you said, I think, and that's how I feel, I need to graduate, right? I need to graduate that phase, and I haven't graduated. I need to prove that this thing is churning out money time and time again, and I'm able to manage it. And not only for anything else, but property investing is a long-term game. So if you jump from one instrument to another, to another, to another, you'll be, you'll never be a master of something. And I think you need to be that before you can move on to something else like you've done, right? So I'm super grateful that you're on this podcast, because I can learn a lot from you, and I'm really looking forward to that. So thanks for that.
Dude, don't say that you're grateful. For fuck's sake, you make me feel old or weird or something.
No,
I'm just happy to have fun. Like if I can teach, if I can give back, whether it's you or anyone else, the same thing. And dude, I'm just so excited to be here, because I'm gonna be learning a shitload from you, whether you want it or not. I'm not even gonna be grateful for that shit. I am excited, and I'm excited because I know this is gonna bring some other cool opportunities and some other stuff, because it just felt right. I am a very gutsy investor, and by that I don't mean that I'm brave. Quite the opposite. I'm very conservative on everything that I do. I just listen to my gut. And when you reached out and we had that initial conversation, some things made sense, some things didn't, but my gut said yes, and that's it. That's all it takes for me, because there was definitely nothing to lose, that's for sure. I knew it was going to be fun, and something inside was saying this is going to be pretty awesome. So
it is. It's going to be fantastic. And we've only started. You haven't even heard my jingles and my sound effects, which we're going to use at some point when we get really into it.
You're serious? We're going to have that kind of shit.
Oh,
this is so professional.
Of course, we're going to have intro jingles. It's going to be fun. Hey, one of the holy grails of property investing, and I know you wanted to share something about this, is doing deals without your own money. And again, I have to warn people, this is not something that you usually start with on this journey. Although, maybe I know that my very first deal, and I'll talk more about the next episode, was a deal whereby I didn't use my own money. So it was the very first deal I did in the UK, none of my own money, and we can talk about that. But it's sort of the holy grail of investing, right? How can you make money without using any of your own? Now, you have some ideas about this and probably a lot of experience. Can you share a bit on how you see that?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things. I haven't been able to use much of my money in my investing because I started with nothing. So I struggle. You cannot use what you don't have. So that forced me to be able to do, well, what people thought crazy, but it wasn't crazy. It was, for me, it was just logical, in ways of creating money and getting money so that I could invest it onto other things. So my first few deals were bought on credit cards. And it's a pretty cool strategy. I actually still teach it in events and stuff because I have that kind of white, shiny armor kind of, how can I put it, way of thinking every once in a while, where I want to beat the banks at their game because I know what they're doing to the average person and how they're ripping them off. And it pisses me off. It really does. So I teach a way of how to use the bank's budget service in the way that they do credit cards to be able to create money out of nothing. And when people realize that this is a game, that if you know the rules of the game, you can literally, and I'm not exaggerating this shit, you cannot make this stuff up, all right? You can create money out of thin air. That's a promise. Out of nothing. using the instruments that are readily available out there, well, then everything changes, because it's like a light switch just clicks on. And as soon as that happens, everything's possible. And I started doing it that way, which, to be honest, was a much harder way than ways that I know now.
Mm.
For me now, the way that I teach people, the way that I do things, is by association. So there are syndications, there are property funds that I put together, there are any kind of joint venture agreement and loans. That kind of stuff is what you're going to have a much easier access to get started, get to do some really cool things, make some reasonable money without any of your own money, and then you can choose about or think about investing your own. But there are definitely lots of different avenues to creating money out of nothing, and they all are here. Unless you work on yourself first, nothing is going to work. And when people say, well, David, it's all easy for you now, you blah, 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 you've done all that shit, blah, blah. It's all straightforward. You can just now throw rocks down a mountain. Like, you know, if I was using someone else's analogy, right? And they all fucking roll and break shit and everything is beautiful. And there's rainbows and butterflies, you know, that don't even poop in your house. So it's not. It's seriously not easy. Quite the opposite. It's just that I've done the step by step of what works, and it's just as simple for them. I've spent enough money and time becoming the person that people want to invest with. And I always tell people, if you don't have the money, it's nothing to do with you. It's nothing to do with anyone else around you. The market conditions, the timing, whatever bullshit story you have, it's got to do with that person that you see in the mirror. So buy yourself a fucking mirror and look at it every day and ask yourself this question: would I invest in this person? If the answer is no, what are you going to do to work on yourself so that you can be that person that people want to invest in? And that is the key. And at the moment, most of the stuff that I do when it comes to deals, I just bought another one a couple of days ago. I don't invest on the actual deal. I invest on the person. So this is a cool dude that I taught about a year ago. He's been doing some really awesome stuff. And he just told me this new strategy he's applying, splitting one house into two. So it's very small to what I normally do. But look, he needed the money to do this stuff. He wanted to set up a really cool business doing it. And I'm like, you know what? Let's fucking do it. I love your energy. I love what you're doing. I'm never going to see that house ever. I paid for it. I'm going to make some really good money out of it. And then I'm going to make more money of the business that we create doing those things. But
Yeah.
I invested in a person. I didn't invest on a deal. And that's what people don't get. That good investors don't invest on propositions, they invest on people, because a proposition could be great, but I've seen a lot of great ideas being screwed up by stupid people. And that don't mean stupid in, you know, in a despective way. It's more of a people that haven't worked on themselves, so they end up shooting themselves on the foot or sabotaging themselves on their idea. And there are plenty of those ones.
That's also one of the main reasons I do podcasting, because podcasting is getting you out there regularly, authentically, with a message, with a conversation, and it creates long form content that builds your credibility because you're out there, you're talking about things. And it's like, if people want to look at your CV on LinkedIn, that's one thing. But if you can tell people, go to my podcast, you know, you want to know what I know about property investing, it's all there. It's in my podcast. Go and listen to it. And it gives credibility beyond belief. And it's a credibility instrument that I found is really amazing once I started doing this and talking about it a lot more. Obviously, you know, you need to be authentic. You need to know what you're talking about. You need to be yourself. I think people that want to start podcasting, I always tell them, be yourself. Do not create two versions of yourself, because it's very tiring and it will always come out. But if people can see you, the good and the bad about you in a conversation like we're having now, it creates a lot of trust. And I think it's really important for
You are
investors.
unbeatable.
Yeah.
You're absolutely unbeatable. If you put your, I do my best to put my weaknesses on display, because if I am displaying those ones, my shortcomings, and I have plenty of them, no one can do you any harm anymore. The problem with most people is that they hide those things and they're always scared that they will come up. No, you just be proud of your shortcomings, because at the end of the day, they can, most of them, be overcome or fix by hiring other people or systemizing things in a different way. So just do that, and not just in investing, just do it in your life. Make fun of yourself. Don't take yourself too seriously. If you have any kind of something, just put it out there. Don't. I'm not talking about being self-deprecation. I'm just talking about, well, shit, I don't care about it. It is just part of my life. For example, one of the things that I always make fun of myself is because I have a wandering eye. I call it a lazy eye, right? And fuck, if I'm making fun of myself because I'm lazy and I have a lazy eye, I mean, it couldn't be any better, right? But all of a sudden, no one can say anything about it. No one's going to try to insult someone when it's not like I've never seen me in the mirror and my eye going to another fucking place, right? Like I've seen that happening. So if I am okay with it, no one else is going to have an issue with it. No one's going to have the balls to try and attack me on that. And that's part of life. That's part of investing. That's part of owning who you are, your authenticity. And if you do that, man, life changes bloody good. It changes big.
Yeah. I've had a lot of conversations lately about public speaking. Coincidentally, at this time, and we're talking, what is it now? It's September 2020. I have a course out there for Indonesians to learn how to do podcasting, right? I do that with a partner here, and it's really kicking off, and it's fantastic. And a lot of these guys that are doing that, they are really their next question is, okay, how do I become confident in talking? How do I become confident in not on stage even, but even like this, right? In front of a camera and a microphone. How do I get comfortable talking? And I always tell them is that you need to be comfortable with who you are, and you need to be comfortable with your weaknesses. And if you stutter, don't try to fix the stuttering. Just be okay with the fact that you're stuttering. If you're getting bald, like I do, if you're losing your hair, be comfortable in being bald. It's all right, right? I mean, it doesn't make you anything less, right? If you're fat, be comfortable being fat. If you're wearing glasses, I mean, there's always something you can criticize about yourself. But if you, as the time you stop criticizing, the time you start accepting, that's the time that you can be a really authentic presenter and shine and let people feel who you are, right? Now, I want to talk about that side of
an entrepreneur and everything else. I mean, that is so cool. And I actually reckon that one of the topics that we have to talk about is presenting and public speaking. People are so turned on by that. Like I tell people what I do, and I tend to focus mostly on the property side. But then, quite a few of them would have seen me or heard it or seen some marketing or something like that, and they're just thrilled to be able to know more. They're like, how the fuck can you do this? How do you get in front of like 3,000-4,000 people and sell a product? Because honestly, speaking is easy. Like absolutely easy. Any Muppet can just go out there and speak. It's not a skill in itself. It's just you don't shit yourself on stage. Joopity boop. That's nothing. It's the influencing part of it. It's the being able to get your idea across to a point where people want to take action and change their life in a positive way. Now, that is fucking hard. And that is a skill set that will not just make you money if you ever become a speaker, a professional speaker. It's a skill set that will make you a crap load of money and will change your life on your day-to-day basis, because you can apply it one-on-one. You can apply 4,000 to one. It's irrelevant. It's just knowing those things to do, knowing the preparation that it takes, knowing the way that you have to do things, how you own yourself, who you are as a person. It's such an introspective journey that you have to do first before you let it out. And most people are not prepared to pay those dues. And that was hard. I love to talk. Seriously, I have hours just talking about this because it was such a beautiful part of my journey and my growth as an investor and as a human being. So definitely, I have already made a note to do that, and we have to talk about it, because if your people want this, I have gone through so much of this. You have so much really cool experience yourself. Let's give them something that's memorable. That's really gutsy. I would love that episode. I want to do it now. I want to stop talking about myself and just talk about fucking public speaking. That's how excited I just got. I got a bit of a stiffy. Semi.
Yeah. No, and I think you're right. And I think that part is really interesting to look at. How can you convince people to do something from stage? Talking about talking from stage, you have done a few things that I have never done in my life, and you've been on stage with some really big name speakers, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell us some of the juicy gossip from you talking on stage with some of these big names, and who were they?
Oh, well, you mentioned a couple. You mentioned Cardone, which I've spoken next to a few times. Like I said, probably over the last 12 months, of all the speakers that I've spoken next to, he's the most impressive one of the lot as a human. Because that for me is more important than anything else. His content, we don't agree on a lot of things,
Hmm.
but I do agree on the core of it, which is that he's trying to help the majority of people, and the way he does that is through fund investing. And the reality is that 90 something percent of the people is what they should stick to, because it's simple. It's going to create a thing. Invest with someone that actually knows what they're doing and get a good solid return. Okay, so I get that.
Hmm.
Gary V, Vaynerchuk, he's different, very full on.
Hmm.
I get proper dynamo, and he did actually change my mindset about social media, because I didn't have any social media accounts. I thought that they're the devil, essentially. I still kind of do. So again, it's something that I love to talk a lot more about, because I think that it's really affecting, especially our youth, in a very negative way. And it's making or creating a population that cannot interact with people.
Hmm.
So everyone can do an email, text. Well, people don't even text anymore, right? So all the other things that you do, call it whichever app, it's the name of the day. And they cannot actually do one-on-one. They cannot talk to a group. They just don't have that skill set. And social media is to blame. And it's actually creating as well a vision of what a good life should be like, which is unattainable and absolute bullshit, really. But at the same time, what he said to me was, well, Dave, you want to impact people, you want to do as much as you can, you want to make a difference. I said, yes. Like, well, you know what the answer is, isn't it? I'm like, yes. And I don't like it. But at the same time, you have to weigh the pluses and minuses and then go with what feels right. So he was super cool. Then I talked to or next to Robbins. Obviously, Robbins it's a big hero of mine. So I'm actually booked again. So if everything goes well, I should be on stage with Tony again in April next year. So that would be pretty cool, because I love that guy. Who else have I talked to? Robert Kiyosaki. So I've done a couple of things with him. The last one was in November last year, I think it
Okay.
was. Richard Branson. So Richard was also pretty cool. Very, very interesting guy. So deep in his thoughts, and you see his life, and he's much harder working than I ever will be. But he has that fun work balance, almost to the point where I'm like, you know what, I like that. He's one of the few that has that balance that I have not seen on other guys. Like I spoke with Tom Bilyeu, who's doing some pretty cool stuff, but he's the antithesis of what I teach, right? He's a hustle guy. He's the guy that tells people to work their butt off, um, and again, the energy on stage is second to none. The guy is a dynamo. um, and you have good things and bad things, and there is nothing that's perfect, and that's a beautiful thing about working with all these guys, that they all have something that I can take from away from them in terms of a good positive for me, so some part of their message, and that's what I do now. So every time that I keep learning all the time, try to go to as many events as I can. Like I went to a Wim Hof seminar, for example, just recently. I love learning, right? So for me, it's not about having to get everything and absorb everything and take it like gospel, like dogma. It's not what I'm about. I'm about listening to everything, digesting, and then being able to use whatever it is that's gonna be good for my life.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, we share that passion of learning. I love to go to places and learn stuff as well, as you know. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool. To round up our introduction episode with you, David,
Yep.
what you're in a great place in New Zealand. You just moved home. You're in a beautiful place there. I've seen the photos. It's amazing property.
Yeah.
What
Fucking crazy. Honestly,
That's amazing.
absolutely
It's an
crazy.
amazing thing.
Yeah.
He,
Yeah.
just to give you a bit of a frame, David has ducks in his garden, and this is not a joke. He has a lake in his garden, so it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
What is your future look like? What do you want to do for the next, let's say, 10 years? What are you striving for?
To do even less. That's my
Be more lazy, basically, right?
completely. I think that I'm doing too much still. Like today, I actually had like, I'm talking about 3 hours on the phone, like talking to people and doing a couple of deals, that I'm putting together. And I'm like, shit, that was a hard day. I feel tired. Like this has been refreshing. And now I'm actually going for dinner and a few drinks, but like I want to do less. That's always my objective. So I want to do more of the stuff that makes me happy, less of the stuff that it doesn't. There is stuff that I still do that I know deep down is not making me happy, but I'm still doing it. So I'm still a work in progress, like all of us are. And my objective is to be even lazier, to actually take my philosophy wide as well. That is something that I would feel really proud of. And I don't do it for pride. I would feel like I have accomplished something that is worthwhile. And I'm okay giving up a bit of my time and energy for that. So what I want to do is to get that width of my message. That's what I'm writing the book. That's why I'm doing this kind of podcast, to tell people that it's okay not to be a high achiever, that you can have a fantastic life just doing simple things that are gonna completely change the way that you wake up every morning. And that's what I see all the time, especially in Western countries, where people are just so frustrated, they're so upset, angry, because they want so much more, and when they don't get it, it all leads to that constant stage of frustration, and that creates sickness. It creates an unhealthy population, which is such a big deal now with what we have and what we're facing in 2020. Which again, it's another topic that I want to go into, because I have such a big political mind. Everyone should be political anyways, and everyone should be able to voice their opinions. That's one of the things that pisses me off. Is when people cannot express themselves freely. But this is what I am actually turned on about. It's about being able to send that message out there so that people are genuinely happier. I want people to prioritize their happiness more than the achievement part of it. I want people to forget about the Instagram bullshit photos, because most of those pricks, I know them, and they're broke, okay? And they're living way beyond their means, and they're stressed, and they cannot even sleep so that they can take the fucking photo that they're putting up there, okay? Which they touch up and everything else. They don't even live in the moment so that they can take the fucking photo. It kills me, it breaks my heart, right? And everyone's saying they have a great life. They don't have a great life. A great life is not about doing that. A great life is about you taking the time to really learn about yourself, to really know what makes you smile on a regular basis. And I'll talk more about it, because I think that's what you and I want to convey. And obviously all the businesses, tricks and everything else, so that you can have more money, because money is a big important part of this all, isn't it? The more money you have, the more time you have to think about this stuff and then come up with better solutions.
Great. So guys, if you want to learn more about doing less and want to hear more about David, stay tuned to the Lazy Money Machine podcast. David is my new co-host. David, thanks so much for jumping in and taking up this challenge. We have, I think, 30, 40 topics that we can record and talk about. So really looking forward to the next episodes. And we'll link all David's links to his business and everything in the show notes. And don't forget, David has a book coming up called Lazy. So as soon as that's out, we will let you guys know and show you the results of what that's all about. Catch you in the next episode, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Erik.